disappear. Nobody would be tortured. It's alhamdulillah, it's a huge achievement. This is the new Gambia we were cherishing. We've got it. It's just like when the judicial protest happened and, you know, some people were there, the youths are not happy. I said, well, you know, the youths wanted to protest. They were allowed to protest. They protested and they got what they wanted. They are happy.
Interesting. I mean, your views are very different, I will argue, to, I mean, what they were in 2021 to 2023.
Regarding what?
When many will say, you know, you were a strong critic of the Barrow administration, in fact, you know, accusing of corruption and bad governance. I mean, in fact, in 2022, I mean, you were arrested, I mean, for saying in a video that President Barrow will be removed in power before the 2023 local government elections. Now, people say instead of writing against the government, you have become part of them. To start with, what happens to you?
Well, Aliu, I was opposing the government. I took a decision to oppose the government. Throughout that period, there was constant, persistent engagement that the knowledge and experience I have are better utilized within the government than making noise outside. After several considerations, both exogenous and endogenous, I took a decision to join the government proudly and with dignity, without any regrets. My job now is not to criticize, it's to advise, it's to contribute positively. That is it. It's not a miracle, it's happened here before. Sheriff Mustafa Diba, who is a legend in our politics, criticized Yahya Jammeh, ended up being a part of his government. MC Cham, opposed Sadauda Kairaba Jawara, now his name is synonymous with the PPP. Come on, let the game continue.
Let the game continue.
Absolutely.
I mean, exactly. I remember also in 2023, you posted on your social media account in which you said, I mean, it is what it is, like you put it. A political prostitute decomes from the opposition to join the ruling party for a job. One will say, did you also join the ruling party for a job or what?
Well, it's politics. When you are on the other side, you criticize. That was my job then. I joined the ruling party. There was no job offered. I joined because they needed my services. I was not offered anything. With time, with the president's good judgment, he appointed me and I gladly accepted, and I'm serving in that position proudly and happily.
Do you look back and say you regretted all what you said against the president?
Well, you know...
You said he was incompetent and all those things.
I was in the opposition. I didn't know who President Barrow was. The people I was in opposition with, which is a wide spectrum, not just the party I was in, they knew the president before I knew him. They said things about the president that I believed. Fast forward, I came to know President Barrow better. And I know that most of the things they were saying about him is just propaganda. They said he's incompetent, he's the most competent Gambian alive to leave this country right now. They said he's dishonest, he's honest. They said he's a betrayer. I've never met a person as loyal as President Barrow. In fact, I like to say now that he's loyal to a fault, because there are certain things happening within this environment. If I were in his position, maybe I would take different decisions. He's a good man, a very good man, a patriot, dignified, just, patient, tolerant, inclusive, and above all, progressive, hardworking, and moving this country on a fast trajectory of rapid socio-economic transformation towards the common good. That is what I yearned for in the opposition. We tried to get him out, we could not. God said he is there. Now I've joined him. You know, he has this proverb, he says, if you are trying to meet the prophet and then you met God, why do you still have to go look for the prophet? Because the prophet was supposed to take you to God. We wanted a space on the state building process. On that platform, we could not get it. He said, hey, I'm here, come, let's do it together. Why would I say no? If it's not personal or out of envy or hatred.
So is his government as corrupt as you claim you were meant to believe back in 2023?
The point is, corruption is a perception. And I don't think there will be any government that can raise its hand in this world to say that there is 100% zero corruption in that government. I don't think that government exists. Because governments are formed by human beings and human beings have their defects. But what I know for sure, that a lot of the claims being made are not true because we have not seen the evidence. And what I have seen is concrete steps taken by the Barrow administration to fight corruption, prosecutions, past and present. There are ongoing cases in these courts, initiated by the government of President to prosecute Gambians.
Like who? Give me an example. Give me an example.
The Ministry of Health case, for instance. There were other cases before that. There are cases being investigated. If it is finalized, some of them may go to the level of corruption. The passing of the anti-corruption bill. And many other institutional reforms like the revamping of the Directorate General of Internal Audit. A lot of things being done within the government to combat this age-old problem. The problem is, Aliu, those pointing fingers to President Barrow. What are they doing about corruption? We have an opposition party whose mayors from Banjul to KM to Brikama to LRR have been found with tangible evidence that these people are corrupt. Their political parties have never come out to recognize or even to rebuke these people.
Isn't it the same as the government also denying that there's any sort of corruption?
No, government never denied. A government that is prosecuting sitting government officials, you cannot say that government denied corruption. This is the only entity, NPP and President Barrow, that accepted that there are some incidences of corruption and they are doing something about it. The opposition, like I said, who has mayors in Banjul, KM, Brikama, LRR, we have tangible evidence. They're even suppressing that information. They don't even want the work of the commission, the commissions of inquiry to come to light. None of the actors within this governance space is more credible than President Barrow and the NPP.
I mean, I quite agree. I mean, like you said, I mean, but I would like to find out from you, how serious is the government in fighting corruption? Because, I mean, we know there was a permanent secretary at the Ministry of Fisheries who was found guilty and was sent to jail, and he was pardoned by the president. Isn't this something which is just trying to encourage corruption? People think, okay, is President Barrow, he's lenient, you know.
The fact that a step was taken to prosecute that case and it reached a conclusive decision at the courts is the evidence that they are serious. To pardon somebody for a crime, it's within our laws. It's not just that case. There are other cases coming on. And I am saying, in addition to the prosecutions happening, there are internal reforms going on in government, including digitization to minimize leakages. Corruption cannot only be fought after the act. I think what is even more important, what is even more effective, to make sure that ways and means are devised to prevent it. Is it a perfect way to do it? No. Is there a perfect way to deal with it anywhere? No. But what I am saying, Aliu, if we are serious about corruption, those making noise outside should look within. They need to do some soul searching. Today, somebody testified at the local government commission. It will never trend on social media because social media is inundated and controlled by the militants of that party. Are they interested in truth and justice? Are they interested in fighting corruption? No, they are not. They are as guilty as the accusations they are pointing to government. Only that government has admitted at some level, and government is taking positive, measured, pragmatic steps according to the law to correct the errata regarding this matter.
As the advisor, special advisor in this case to the president, I mean, what are the most pressing issues on your desk at the moment?
I'm not going to talk to you about the issues on my desk. I'm a special advisor. Yeah. I advise as and when I can. I advise on so many issues. I'm not going to go into specifics.
Okay. I mean, you were named in the Janneh Commission report. I mean, and now serving as special advisor, like I said, I mean, how do you justify your return to public service?
I don't need to justify anything. There was no justification in the first place to ban me from public office. And I said that in the beginning. I still stand by it. The record is there. I never accepted the findings of the Janneh Commission. I questioned their integrity. I questioned their motives. I questioned the ways and means in which they were dealing. And now the entire public has come to agree that what Mamadou Sabali said about the Janneh Commission is true. They were not following due process. They were not fair. I was targeted. And the recommendation I never accepted, I challenged in the courts. So it is what it is.
But I mean, during the commission, I mean, they said, I mean, in your capacity as in your capacity then as the Secretary General and Head of Civil Service, I mean, you aided and abetted Janneh in most of the financial dealing that he was doing. In fact, at some point they said, I mean, in one of the cases, I mean, an amount of $1.5 million you cast from the central bank. I mean. Yes. I mean, as a director from Janneh, which you requested from the commission to testify in camera. Why?
Yeah, I know this is Alaji Kurang's words.
Exactly, it's trending, and I want you to clarify.
It shows his lack of integrity and professionalism and sincerity. I testified. What I testified is out there in the open, is in the records of the commission. The President of the Republic of the Gambia has rights to give instructions to the Secretary General, who is head of accounts at the Office of the President, to do financial transactions. I acted according to the law. And those monies were given to Janneh. Why didn't they bring Janneh to come and account for that or go after him? They are not interested in that. They were just interested in staining me. Now Allah has washed me clean. I am the hero in this whole saga.
But even whereas, okay, the president has the powers to direct you to go and withdraw any amount
just like he directed somebody to promulgate Decree 1, to pen the entire democratic process and bring in a military government, and that person went to a commission. And they could not even hold her accountable. She said, we all knew what was happening here. It was a dictate, and they gave her a pass. No adverse findings was actually made against that person. It is that injustice, that corruption of those people who are now accusing government of corruption that led us to this problem.
But isn't that just an excuse, Saps, to justify some of the wrongdoings? I mean, even whereas, okay, you said the president gave you the directives, people will say, okay, but you could have known that it is wrong, and you say,
I am giving you an example.
Exactly. Yeah.
I withdrew 1.5 million that never went into my pocket anyway.
Dollars or dollars?
Whatever it is. It never went into my pocket. Everybody who knows Modus Abadi knows that I didn't take a butut from the public treasury. That's 1.5. Now, somebody signed a decree to upend our democracy from 1965 to 1994. When she appeared before the TRRC, she was even being aggressive towards the lead commissioner. We all knew what was happening here. He had guns. It was a dictatorship. And that single decree led to all the mess that we are in here. You're talking of now billions. That person is given a clean slate. Now the Janneh Commission itself is the one that has to answer to the public for all the wrongs they did.
Away from that, what is your stance on the sale of Janneh's assets? Do you think the process was fair, transparent, and in the national interest?
My stance is clear. It's not hidden. When everybody was clapping for Batambedu and the Janneh Commission and treating them as angels, I was the lone voice that came out that the way the commission is operating is not right. They are not following due process. I was the first to come out and say the way Janneh's assets are being sold and disposed, it's illegal, it's criminal. The posts are there on Facebook, written, on video. In fact, the protesters, when they started, these are the old posts they were sharing. Some of them thought that I would disavow those claims. Whatever I said about it, I stand by it. What happened to Janneh's assets is wrong. I was the first to say it. Whoever is protesting here, you are just reaffirming what Mamadou Sabally said, but only that you were not brave enough to say it when it was difficult to say. I am the hero in this.
So, where's the money from those sales? Do you think the government has accounted for it properly?
Don't you think you're asking the wrong person?
yeah, but in your opinion, as an advisor, do you think the government is able to account for this thing properly?
Well, this is a complex matter.
Okay.
Aliu, and that is why I think that's one of the reasons, because there are not any easy and clear answers. The person who should answer this question is Batambedu. Unfortunately, instead of answering these questions, he's running around the media trying to make excuses for himself. Ba should answer this question. I cannot answer it. Even President Barrow cannot answer this question. The Keita Finance Minister cannot answer this question. If you let Batambedu answer that question.
You said you are a victim of the commission.
Absolutely.
Are you telling us the commission was biased or politically motivated?
The commission was biased.
Or was it politically motivated?
No, I don't want to get there.
Okay, all right.
The commission was biased. As
Why?
alluded to by Alaji Kurang, who was after me, because he was part of them doing all those wrong things. He accused them of selective questioning of witnesses when he was part of them. The same Alaji Kurang participated in the illegal sale of Janneh's assets at prices that only God knows. Alaji Kurang is as much a villain as Batambedu or the actors on that commission. They are the ones that did the wrong things.
But he said under him, he was able to sell 43 tractors for $10 million. Unlike, when he left, they sold over 100 tractors, but just $13 million.
It doesn't matter. The question is the principle. Does the commission have the authority to sell? If you ask Alaji Kurang, he will say no. And when he was making these claims, accusing the commission, he never knew that somebody would come and put him on the hotspot. Alaji Kurang, who did the valuation? Where is the legal authority for you to do the sales? You sold for 10 million. What is the guarantee that what you sold could not have been sold for 20 million? Who did you sell it to? What went under the table? Alaji Kurang, I think, like I advised.
Many said there was no advertisement as well for bidding.
among other things, Alaji Kurang should apologize to the nation, recuse himself from this whole matter, and get ready to face the parliamentary inquiry. That's the only dignified thing that he can do. Anything less is just doing a disservice to everybody, including the gala that he claims to be serving, because he's not serving them. He's there for his personal political interests.
How do you know the subs?
Absolutely, it's quite clear. Kurang is a politician who wanted to run for president. Kurang joined these young people, and then all of a sudden, he's fighting with somebody out there in the cells while they were detained, saying, I'm going to be the leader. And now, Kurang is...
Who told you that, sir? you were in the cell. How do you know they are fighting for?
I am well informed in this country. So, Kurang, I mean, it's very unfortunate how some of these politicians just are using these innocent young people for their personal, egocentric, political interests.
Who are these politicians that are using this?
Alaji Kurang is one of them. Bob Keita is one of them, because who has proven himself to be untrustworthy and dishonest by exposing private conversations.
But I guess Bob is your friend.
When it comes to the truth, I don't have a friend, I don't have relatives. I hate it when people do unjust things, when people falsify the truth. Bob is my boy. Bob was the first person to convince me to support President Barrow. And Bob, as far as I'm concerned, up to the day this matter was happening, he said he was a member of NPP. Bob and I were talking, of course, with his in-law, trying to convince him, trying to convince the president to forgive him for some of the errors that he did, so that Bob can come back to where he said he belongs, NPP. And Bob agreed, and Bob benefited from President Barrow when he left prison, because he told me that President Barrow gave him a donation of $10,000 to restart his business and rebuild his life. After he left prison, President Barrow gave him a diplomatic passport. He accepted it. Bob made certain mistakes in between that. He apologized.
You mean the president did all this for Bob?
He did all of this for Bob, but Bob will never admit this. After all of that, a private conversation that happened between him and the president, Bob came out to falsify that to the extent of risking hurting the relationship between the two countries. And what he's saying is false, it's not true, because he recounted that conversation to me. He is trying to build up a narrative to gain political capital, just like Alaji Kurang. I think these people, they should recuse themselves from this matter, take care of their personal problems, because Bob, in his imagination, because President is too high to have a problem with Bob, in his imagination he has a problem with Barrow. Alaji Kurang, in his imagination, he has a problem with Bensouda and the commission, and I don't know who. We can't go personal on these issues. This is a very serious state national matter with far-reaching implications. I think we should temper down emotions, take care of our egos, settle our personal problems on the sidelines, approach the matter with honesty and sincerity, seek the truth with due process and fairness, so that we can know how to correct the mistakes that happen and pave a way forward that will not be based on emotions, anger, and vengeance. No matter how messy this situation is, I think what led us here, I said it before, is the lack of following the law and due process. Now that we've learned that mistake, let us not go again with our emotions and do things that will hurt people. I believe everybody should be treated fairly, and we all, because for instance me, I think this guy asked me a question about this issue, to pass judgment against a sitting. I said, I don't think I'm qualified to pass judgment because I'm a victim. Naturally, I'm not very happy with the commission and some of the players. So that's why when the whole saga erupted, I took a back seat and calmed down a little bit, because it's an emotionally tense matter. I was banned by this commission that everybody now is saying is corrupt. I was banned by this justice minister that everybody is pointing fingers to. So I said, you know what? I think I should take a back seat. I should not rush to pass judgment. Ali, all I am interested in this. Like they said, the list that they are asking for, I was the first to ask for it. And when I asked for it, they were insulting me. When I criticized Bar Tambedu, they were the ones insulting me. But you asked for the list. Government said they will provide the list. Give government the time. Because as it turns out, there was nothing like a list that was compiled, ready to be taken out. The government cannot take out what it doesn't have. And I commend the government for taking the initiative to take out whatever is available of the list, which is pragmatic, and then continue to work on augmenting it until it is finished. And I further commend President Barrow and the Gambia government for going above and beyond what these protesters were asking for, to ask for a full parliamentary inquiry. I think the young people, they asked for chere. The government is giving them chere, is giving them nyeh, is giving them meat. I think.
Just like many other Gambians, is the president equally surprised and shocked?
I don't know what is in the president's mind, but what we have to realize, and that's why I'm insisting that we take our egos out of this and our emotions and allow reason to prevail, because the entity that handled this issue is not within the central government.
The list we have seen and the prices we have seen that some of this as
let me learn. It's a quasi-judicial body, a commission of inquiry that was meant to be independent, so they were not answerable to President Barrow. You understand? They did these things. President Barrow would not know the nitty-gritties of what was happening inside. So if he is surprised, it would not be news to me, but I don't want to speculate what's going on in his mind. But what I know is the environment is foggy. We are not seeing the true picture. Let's not rush to jump to conclusions. Let's allow these processes to flow according to the law and follow due process. You know, what's funny, Aliu? What created this whole mess is the creation of a commission of inquiry. Now, to sort out this mess, we are establishing another inquiry. So that's why I said, please, we have our personal little battles here and there, but let's calm down and allow sober and independent minds to pursue this. And that's one of the reasons why I said Alaji Kurang, who is a person of interest, a potential witness, if he is honest and sincere to the young people of this country, let him recuse himself from this matter and get ready to go to Parliament to answer questions.
It's interesting, and knowing the president being a businessman, I doubt, he will sell a vehicle, Toyota, something.
Well, thank you,
just for $2,000. That's why I said probably he might even be surprised seeing that list. So let's just see it as it is. All of us are concerned as genuine Gambians that because, like I said, it's not about the NPP or the president. It's about the whole process which was created to ensure a transparent and fair inquiry into the asset of Janneh. So let no one see it out there as it is against Barrow or NPP.
Well, that's the problem, Aliu. And clearly, some of these miscreants like Kurang, like Bob, like Esafal, like Rahim Malik Low, they're trying to politicize this platform to point fingers to President Barrow, which is unfair and unjust.
But maybe they were just concerned. That's why they came out just to...
No, they were not just concerned. We know what they were saying. We know some of them, how they were inciting these young people when people were talking across the aisle to calm down the situation because the situation had escalated to a boiling point. Some of them were calling these young people around the corner and telling them not to call off the protest because they are angry with the government and they want to make this about the government, and definitely that's very unfair.
Do you support the protests, Sabs? I have seen an opinion piece on one of the online papers. They are saying most of them are your boys, your mentees. I'm like, Sabs has so many mentees.
Aliu, I'm glad you asked this question. You just asked about Bob. Bob is my friend. But I said, when it comes to the truth, I don't have a friend, I don't have family, I don't even have a political party. A lot of the young people there, they are my mentees. It is true. But they know my principles, that even whilst I was in the opposition, I've never encouraged or asked anybody to break the laws of the country. Naturally, I'm averse to protests. Some of these young people were involved in a protest before this one at the UTG, and I advised them not to do it. They went ahead and did it because it's not, look, every right comes with limitations and responsibilities. The laws of this country require you to have a permit to protest. And so long as those laws exist in this country, they need to be respected because in a civilized society, in a democracy, we cannot pick and choose which of our laws we should respect. And I saw a statement from the Human Rights Commission, which I find very insincere and very hypocritical, blaming government for arresting people who protested without a permit. We have a record in our locus classicus where people who protested without permits were convicted, and the convictions were upheld up to the level of the ECOWAS court. So it's very unfair, very insincere to pick and choose which of our laws we should respect. So some of these young people, they protested without a permit. I called them, I said, and the police were so nice, nobody was arrested. But at that point, they went further to do something that could have jeopardized the peace. I called. I said, the protest you did is illegal. The police allow you to do it. Don't go beyond. When this one was coming, I sent word to all of them again. Look, Aliu, I don't micromanage people. You know me. You worked under me. I have friends who are PDIS, UDP, GDC, independent. I am very tolerant in terms of political views. Some of these young people who are my mentees, they don't support NPP. Maybe 1 or 2 support NPP, but the others, they don't, and they make it known to me. But sometimes, even when I go to NPP functions, I go with them. I sent word to all of them, you have a right to protest. I don't micromanage people. But if you decide to do it, and it's against the law, know that I have the right to dissociate myself from you. So when the protests happened, they decided to do it. That's why I kept quiet. And mainly UDP militants who are very jealous of my popularity among the youth fold, they started posting my pictures with these young people, calling me shameless.
But how do you know they are UDP militant subs?
Kasa TV is UDP operating under Talib Bensouda.
What evidence do you have to justify this?
The owner of that TV, Ali, remember I was national campaign manager.
Yeah, but I mean, show us evidence to show that, okay, you know, the owner of that Kasa TV is UDP.
I am telling you, Kasa Manding is a UDP militant. Even the UDP people will not deny that. UDP TV and media, all these UDP organs and non-UDP national executive members calling me names, pitting these young people against me. And I was quiet because what they wanted to do is to push me to come out and defend these young people. As far as I'm concerned, I did not support the protest because there was no permit. If they had a permit, maybe I'll be indifferent. Aliu, they got to heavy. When I was calling for this list, when I was accusing the Janneh Commission and Bak Kambedu of doing wrong things, these were the same people insulting me. Today they are calling for what I call, today it's unpopular to say that the protest is illegal. I am saying it's illegal. Yeah. No, let me learn. Okay. I want to make this clear because some people think I will be afraid to voice out my opinion on this. The protest is illegal. They didn't have a permit. And because of that, I refuse to stand and defend them. When the thing got to a certain level, because everybody knows my relationship with these young people, people started calling. Among them Lala Toure, among them the Honorable Nam for Serakunda, Cham, Alaji Manka. Boy, you know what? Let's try to calm down this situation. I was forced to intervene in the interest of peace, in the interest of the country. I appealed where I could appeal to calm down that situation. It's calmed down. In retrospect, I did the right thing by stating my opposition to the protest because they did not have a permit. The purpose, I agree with. The list should come out. I agree with that. But protesting without a permit, I am against it. Yesterday, today, I am. Tomorrow, I'll be, inshallah.
But, I mean, when you look at the whole protest, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't have said this back in 2022 when you were arrested and then some young people wanted to come out to protest against that.
Well, perhaps you
wouldn't have said that at the time.
Perhaps you don't know me or you've forgotten about me because you know me. I am as constant as the Northern Star. I am against protest. Do you know why that protest did not get out of hand when I was arrested in 2022? Because the police chiefs at the time, they came to me. When they alerted me, I sent word to those young people not to do it. The Supreme Islamic Council came to me to appeal to me because tensions were at fever point. Some of them came out and protested without a permit, but generally, my advice was not to do it.
But don't you think also many will say, okay, the police could have just given them the permit because, in fact, in the letter that they gave to this gala group, I mean, there was no reasons for rejecting their permit. And also, if it's about, I mean, security threat, what was the threshold? Because I believe there should be a threshold to determine what is the security threat.
I think, Ali, you are getting into uncharted territory now.
Exactly. No, these are questions that people are asking, and from your own experience, I mean...
No, the point is, Bakso called me the boy of smartness, but I don't delve into issues that where I don't have knowledge and expertise. The police will be able to determine why they did this. The point is, Ali, for me, my interest in this is not about my ego or finger pointing. It's about the truth, learn a few lessons, chart a way forward to avoid whatever errata that happened from then up to now. The police had issued permits before. They had denied permits before. I think what happened in this case...
They denied more than they have approved.
It doesn't matter. At least for once, we are seeing recurrently issuance of permits for protest. That is progress we must all hail and nurture in this country. What I'm saying is, I have some experience in this. There are issues that came up when I was in the opposition and young people applied for a permit. It was denied. My advice constantly was apply again. And then beyond that, I would say, go and negotiate with the police. In this case, did that happen? No. I think the ringleaders were in a haste to hit the streets. Permit denied, I would have applied again. I would have engaged the police. And the police are quite open to these things. When I was in UDP with the UDP leaders, we would go to Pa Aliu Jawara's office and talk. and negotiate. So I think a little bit of patience, a little bit more of engagement could have averted this. But then the police also, it is their area of expertise. I'm sure they've studied this. I'm sure some lessons have been learned. So, but whether the threat level was high enough in the OSC or of Simbari, Sutnama, my knowledge has not reached that level.
Do you think this Public Order Act should be in our laws?
You know, I have very interesting views when it comes to some of these issues, because I am more inclined to the governance systems of the East than the West. You know, so if you look at the level of discipline in countries like China, in South Korea, in Turkey, some of these countries, I'm more impressed by those people. And democracy is a process of evolution. Some of the countries we are trying to ape and copy, they evolved over 200 years. Our democracy is less than 75 years old. Whether that law should be there or not is for the Gambian people to decide. But my point is, so long as the law is there, we should abide by it. And Aliu, it takes us to the next issue. We had a whole opportunity, as the learned Justice Hassan Jallow famously said at a UTG Law Day event that I attended in the early days of the learned.
Yeah, he's learned.
Justice.
Yeah.
Well, he's a lawyer.
Oh, really?
They call themselves learned friend. I mean, Justice Hassan Jallow is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Lawyers call each other my learned friend.
I'm surprised to hear this from you. What did he say?
Justice Hassan Jallow.
Yeah.
Well, he was talking at a UTG Law Day, and he was talking about the opportunity that Gambians have that most countries don't have, the opportunity to rewrite your laws. That's about bringing a new constitution. What I'm saying is, if we follow through that process to the end, perhaps these issues of these, some of these laws that some of us did not agree with, they could have been adjusted. We had a coalition government that could have amended this. They did not do it. At the time, everybody had other priorities. So now you cannot come 11 hours and start blaming President Barrow for this.
You know, I'm surprised when you mentioned the Chief Justice, because yes. I remember in 2023, I mean, yes, you said on your Facebook page, and you said, and I quote, the judiciary under Hassan Jallow is in bad shape. Yes. Abuse of judicial processes to score political points is inimical to democracy and peace.
Yes, I said
Why
it.
Did you say that at
I
the time?
said it. I was in the opposition. They were doing things I did not like. Did I say that Hassan Jallow is not learned in that post? So sometimes this is the problem. People see my writings and insinuate stuff. The judiciary is in bad shape. Yes, I said it. It's Hassan Jallow who in his right mind would say this guy is not educated. Who in his right mind would say, so this is my problem. I don't do blanket condemnation. I can tell you that, Aliu, perhaps your dress style is not cool, but somebody will go and interpret, somebody said Aliu is not a good journalist. And these are things that happen a lot of time. I guess the way I communicate is a bit too sophisticated. And I learned a few lessons along this. During the early days of the transition, I said certain things in a Facebook post. People started misinterpreting. Later, I started writing full essays, open letters to fully explain what I'm saying. Hassan Jallow is educated, he's intelligent. I criticize the judiciary under him, I stand by it, but the man is an ocean of knowledge and wisdom.
That's Mamadou Sabally, the special advisor to President Barrow, who is my guest on the State of Affairs this week. We'll go with a short break, and when we return, discussion continues. Do stay tuned.
Do your banking the smart way with the new Aji Bank mobile app. Transfer money to any bank account in the Gambia. Top up airtime for all networks. Pay utility bills. Check your account balance and view mini statements. Request for ATM cards. Request for checkbooks and more in a single touch. So, do your banking in a smart way. Do your banking now with Aji Bank mobile app. Every time is banking time. Aji Bank, your investment partner.
Hello viewers, welcome back from that short break. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliu Sise, and this is your weekly State of Affairs program. My guest this week is Mamadou Sabally, who is a special advisor to President Barrow. Sabs, welcome back from that short break. I mean, when this whole issue happened, how was it Describe to us, give us a picture. How was the situation within the State House?
Well,
I know it was something that the president never expected.
Well,
he never expected that the youth will finally go out on the streets. You know, people always limit their whatsoever on social media, and that's it.
It happened over the weekend, so I don't work during the weekend. But I can tell you one thing.
By the way, people were calling you, and you must have intervened,
yes,
maybe behind the scene, that people wouldn't know.
But I can tell you for sure, just before coming here, and I was thinking of how anger, emotions, vengeance pushed entities like UDP to push some of these commissions to go after their adversaries. And then it backfired now.
But why do you continue blaming UDP? I mean, when the commission was...
This is the first time I'm mentioning them in this
It wasn't a UDP government. This was a coalition government.
It was a UDP-led government. And when these institutions were being set up, UDP was calling the shots. And Aliu, maybe those of us who've lived here for more than 40 years, you can see faces and identify them with political parties. So what I'm saying is the anger, the vengeance, the lack of following due process, which I would always exempt PDIS because, I mean, even though I don't agree with them, whatever situations come, they go by the law, they go by due process, they are patient. So what I'm saying, with all of these things, at the time, Barrow was head of a coalition government, and the coalition itself had a head. And maybe that coalition head needs to speak now because we need to hear from her. These are the faults of the coalition, not the NPP government. So I said, perhaps if these people went with President Barrow's sense of wisdom, his sense of calm equanimity, his sense of, just balance, we could have avoided some of these issues. So when this whole thing happened, President Barrow, I've never seen a situation where, for the 1 year I'm with him, he got unnecessarily agitated that would push him to take irrational decisions. I have not seen it. I've interacted with him. Sometimes myself, I'm worried about certain situations. I go in and say, calm down. Let's do this. Do you know about this? Because the president is the most informed person.
Oh, he gets agitated sometimes?
I said, I get agitated.
Okay,
I go to him.
Okay, you got him just so.
And I'm really worried, and I'm expecting that from him. He said, calm down.
Oh, okay.
Do you know this? Do you know that? Let's do this. Let's do that. It happened not just in crisis situations like that, other situations. And I'm just amazed by him at his sense of temperance, his sense of balance, and his sense of calm. And that really helps a leader in taking decisions that would be towards the common good. He's an amazing man.
You mentioned that, it was a UDP-led coalition.
Yes.
We have seen the former finance minister, Amadou Sane, has come out to deny any involvement in the sale of Jammeh's assets. So how do you justify that, they have a role to play in this?
If there is any party that has commended and celebrated Batambedu up to this year, it is UDP at their official press conferences. They think Batambedu is the best thing since sliced bread. Let them own up to Bar.
You have spoken of being a victim. Do you also accept responsibility for the role you have played, during Jammeh's regime?
I don't even know where your question is going to.
Yeah, because it was a commission.
Yeah. Now listen,
yeah.
I serve as Secretary General, Minister of Presidential Affairs, Minister of the Civil Service.
Director of Budget.
I helped Jammeh to build this country, not to destroy it. And I know people who...
I think you've been the youngest director of budget I have known in the history of this country.
I'm the youngest in a lot of things. Yeah. But what happened, Ali, looking back, I just say, Alhamdulillah, that at the height of the criticism, the attacks on Jammeh, it was like everything that Jammeh ever did is bad for the country. They forgot about the university, they forgot about the TV, they forgot about a lot of things. They forgot about the tractors that they were selling at night at the time. I stood everywhere. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Janneh Commission's findings on me were so harsh, because I refused to lie against Jammeh. I refused to go with the narrative that Jammeh destroyed this country. My position was, I did not serve Jammeh, I served my country. I worked with him. We did what was good for this country, where we perfect no. Those errors, those things that are not right, because if I said that Jammeh, everything he did in this country is right, I am lying. I answered their questions. Maybe they did not like the way I answered it, like others who came and they were calling Jammeh a mad dictator. And mad dictator, you were working with him, what are you? Aliu, man, no matter, Jammeh jailed me here and everything, but I would not lie against him. My answer in short, after all of this, in many hearts, Jammeh is still a hero, whether you like it or not.
And for you, do you still consider yourself aligned with Jammeh, or have you, many others, distanced yourself from his legacy?
Well, what has happened, Aliu, like I said, I like to be balanced and fair. I think Janneh did a lot of good things, including creating the university that made Modu Sabally who he is.
Many others, thousands
Many others. Janneh made mistakes. You understand? Janneh hurt me, just like he hurt many people. But when he left, I refused to go on that bandwagon for the blanket condemnation. If you ask me specific questions, I would. In 2017-18, I had the opportunity to join the APRC again and perhaps become the leader. I turned it down because I felt that Janneh's time was over. We need to open a new page. If some people don't want to open a new page, I was ready for a fresh start. I am not his APRC. I am not his No to Alliance. I will never join his political movement. But I respect him as a former head of state. That's it. I'm no longer aligned with him in any way.
What's your reaction to those who said Sabally doesn't believe in anything? Sabally is an opportunist. From APRC to UDP and now to Barrow. Probably he might even go back to UDP again.
Well, so they are the opportunists who feel that right now if you say that it will trend and they take the opportunity. The thing is, I'm not bothered by what they say about me, because I've had so much experience. 2017-18, national TV, private TV, newspaper, radio, none was saying anything good about Modu Sabally with the backing of the commission, with their so-called evidences. Some people thought I was written off. I was done for Kidufi Jarati Jaraite Kelefente. What's happening today? Even if I sneeze, people want to know what I'm sneezing. When the Janneh Commission banned me, I went on TV. The records are there. I said, nobody can prevent me from being in public office. Where am I today? I said, Kulillahumma malikal mulki tutil mulka man tasha wa tanziul mulka mimman tasha. It is in the hands of God. I believe that I am not perfect, Aliu. But I believe that most of the decisions I take are right, and most of the decisions I take are in the national interest. I told Peter Gomez a day or so back on Coffee Time. He was asking me, because questions were coming, some attacking, some praising. He said, which is more? Is it the haters or the lovers? I said, Yefama Emal. I mean, it's all the same to me, whether you insult me or clap for me. I know human beings and how they change like weather. All I'm interested in is whether my conscience is clear, whether I'm taking the right steps. Will I always take the right steps, Aliu? No, I am a human being, I'm fallible. But so long as my conscience is clear,
this morning, the president convened an emergency cabinet meeting at the State House, and I understand he's going to address the nation tomorrow. What should we expect from the president?
Well, I was not in cabinet, and I've not spoken to the president since then, so your guess is as good as mine. Let's sit and wait.
Will you recommend for the government to withdraw their nomination of Bartamidu for the ICC job? I'm
not going into that. And like I said, I want to be fair in this. And that's why, like I said, from the interview with Esonyasi, I started being a little bit careful as to passing judgment because I'm a victim. Bar has offended me, the Commission of Inquiry has offended me, Alhaji Mukurang has offended me, all these people. So when it comes to matters like this, I would rather not advise the president because maybe I would not be fair.
Really? But you are his special advisor.
The president has several advisors, and I said this on...
But you are special.
Yeah,
the special there is something else.
But the matters at hand are specific, and he has a legal advisor, the Attorney General, Minister of Justice. I don't think I'm competent to advise the president on these matters, to be honest, because nit regular. Even according to the Islam and the Sharia, if you are conflicted in a particular matter, you are not qualified to pass judgment.
But what about if he engages and says, Subs, I need your advice on this?
I'll wait for that. I have a perfect answer. But president has more than enough advisors. He may, perhaps, just perhaps, he might not need my advice on this.
But I mean, you talk about the Attorney General. This is the same man who went to National Assembly and said, I mean, he can't reveal the list of the bias because, I mean, it's going to infringe on their privacy.
Well, it's the same man who came back and said he's going to reveal the list. You know, I think, I'm not here to defend Dawda Jallow, and he's a very good friend of mine, formidable guy, actually. These things have legal implications. Suppose your name appears on that list by error somehow, that Aliu bought a Range Rover for 80,000 like Nyanjai. How would you feel? So the Attorney General might have to deal with a legal issue, a litigation issue. Like I said, I'm not saying that's why he did it, but now we found out that the list that we are asking the Attorney General, he actually didn't have it. A complete list did not exist. Dawda said he was going to release it. I think that was not right. Now, Dawda said he's going to release it. I think we should commend him. Beyond releasing it, the Attorney General, with support from the President of the Republic, and the truth-loving, peaceful NPP have gone above and beyond to institute a formal parliamentary inquiry. I think we should commend the government. And
how timely is a parliamentary committee?
Better late than never. That's what I would say, Aliu.
Okay. Yeah.
Aliu, I like to say this, and I always like to give this a preamble, that we must never ever forget that the Gambia is still going through a transition, a very difficult one. And we've gone through a process when, at some point, we thought that bombs were going to rain on this country. Yes,
and you said it is messy and difficult.
It is.
How did you reach that conclusion?
Because of the realities I have seen. The fact that we went through an election and the president accepted and we all clapped. He rejected. We went to court. ECOWAS came. Jet fighters flying over. And knowing countries like Libya, like Iraq, when a strong man leaves, what happens? Always reminds me how Allah saved us and how Allah advises us, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, on unity. وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إخْوَانًا وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِنَ النَّارِ. Allah says, at the time Muhammad was alive, we were enemies, brought us together. Post-2026, didn't Gambia become a more united country? And we are on a pit of fire. When bombs drop, what happens? Fire. Allah saved us all of that. We put up commissions. And it was not just the Janneh Commission. It was the TRRC. It was the Constitutional Review Commission. The whole world was looking at us as a fragile state.
But isn't this funny, Sabs? I mean, this is a country of devoted Muslims and Christians. I mean, we have mosques in almost every institution. There are churches everywhere. Yet, the issue of corruption is against Islam, Sabs. But why? Taking what belongs to everyone just to yourself?
Aliu.
National assets are for everyone. So why should just someone just take it to him or herself?
Aliu, we are a Muslim country.
It's interesting.
No, we are a Muslim country. We took Islam from other countries. And I can mention at least 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 countries that became Muslim before us, and those countries are more corrupt than Gambia. I'm not justifying what's happening. Yeah. I'm not for corruption. But the point is, Islam, why is there Sharia? Why are there courts? Why are there penalties? God knows that these things will happen. Our duty is to minimize it and correct it. God knows that we will not be perfect, and that's why in the Quran there is a surah called Suratul Tawbah. Human beings are not perfect, and we are not made to be perfect. Why do we say istighfar? People will make mistakes. I think what is wrong, Aliu, is to support openly what is wrong. But if something wrong happens, and I quite agree with that. We agree it's wrong. Yeah. But we also don't use mob justice. We also don't burn our country because something is wrong. We follow the law. We follow due process. Even those who are accused, we give them a fair hearing so that at the end of the day, the outcomes will be for justice and not revenge.
Because what surprised me, this has been a case that even some people who are serving in the government do not agree with the way in which these assets were sold.
So that's the point, and that's why...
And that shows you how serious and concerned Gambians are about this whole process.
So you would agree then that the majority of the Gambians believe that truth should be established and justice served. And that's why I've always advised that everybody should be calm in this matter. I get a lot of information, Aliu. There are people that I've pointed fingers to in this process. And then I got information that those people are working very hard to make sure that this list should come out. I said, I will never mention them again. So those people protesting outside might even assume that everybody who is receiving a salary is against them. Perhaps not. There are people who are with them. There are people who support them, but they are against the protest. If they have a right to go against something that is illegal. But the point is, I think what you pinned out here is that, and I believe that most Gambians want the truth. They want the list out. Like I said, we thank the government for going above and beyond. There's a parliamentary inquiry. And most Gambians want the errors to be addressed, but we have to address it according to the law.
And we're running out of time, Sabs. I mean, what will be your message, to Gambian youth who are watching you right now, in terms of, leadership, justice, and all those things?
Interesting question at a very interesting time. This is our country. It belongs to nobody. What has happened has happened. We thank God. We thank President Barrow for his temperament, for his compassion, and for leading a government that listens to her citizens more than any other government I know of. And to also thank the leadership, some of the leaders of the youths, not the Alaji Kurangs and Bob Ketas, but some of the, and there are people that have been viciously criticizing among them. But when I got information of how they conducted themselves during the protest, I was like, wow, I'm really impressed. So those...
Some of them is just constructive criticism. Not because, I mean, they are anti-Barrow or anti-government. Like some people will perceive it. I'm not referring to you.
No, what I'm saying,
some people will
some of the youths involved, the level of maturity and restraint they showed, I did not expect that of them. You understand? So those are the ones I'm commending.
But Gambians are naturally peaceful people. So even if you give them permit, they won't burn tires and do certain things. That I can tell you.
Anyway, you can never assume.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I worked at Central Bank with a lot of Gambian professionals who studied in Sierra Leone. And when we said the Gambia, there will be no war like this, they told me Sierra Leoneans are more peaceful than Gambians. And look at what happened in Sierra Leone. And it takes me to one thing I want to quote. Honorable Halifa Sallah, 2017-18. Anywhere we had these youth gatherings, you must never ever take the peace and stability of your country for granted. Let's preserve it. This really paradise on earth, this gem called the Smiling Coast of Africa, known for its peace and stability. Let's preserve it. That's the foundation. Any other thing we build is what we build that on. And then Hasum Sise told me, and I quoted this before, that Sadauda Kairaba Jawara once remarked that the fragility of the Gambia is unique. So even if we disagree, let's disagree with respect. Let's not encourage violence and lawlessness. Let's go for the truth. Let's be fair to each other. Let's keep this special gift called the Republic of the Gambia, where peace reigns from morning till morning.
Thank you so much, Mamadou Sabali, Special Advisor to the President. He was my guest on this week's State of Affairs program. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to this week's edition of your weekly State of Affairs program. Do join us next week. Until then, Your Excellency, we are all looking forward to your address tomorrow. And like I said, I mean, we all wish this country well, and we wish you well. And most of the comments are just out of genuineness, I mean, wanting the best, not just for you, but equally the country. And we're looking forward to hearing from you tomorrow. On behalf of the production team, thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye. See you next week.